Mm.
So we are defining the exception. Exception is an abnormal condition. Abnormal condition in the sense which is not normal. Whenever any abnormal condition is going to occur inside your program, then what is happening? Our program is going to be terminated. Terminated in the sense without any information, your JVM will tell, I'm not going to run your program further, and it's going to be terminate your program. So just have a look, first example, how the exceptions are coming in our program.
Mm.
So the first program, can you see here, I have a class A, SOP main, and in the line number 8, I have given the int I equal to 10 divided by 0. So
Mm.
if you ask from the compiler perspective, compiler is saying it is okay for me, because you know very well, compiler is always checking syntactically this program is correct or not. If
Mm. Yeah.
syntactically it is not correct, then you will get an error. But you can see 10 is also one of the integer number and 0 is also one of the integer number. So for
Integer number. Yeah.
compiler, it is okay. Compiler is saying it's okay for me. I don't know what is this. So
Mm.
that's why I told you in our programming language there is a two environment. One is compile time environment and another one is the runtime environment.
Runtime. Yeah.
So compile time environment is checking whether your program is syntactically correct or not, and runtime environment is checking whether your program is logically correct or not. So whenever this program is going to run, then your JVM will come in picture, and JVM will see how is it possible to divide any number by 0. So this is one of the exceptional statement. Before this statement, whatever things are there, that all will be printed. But
Mm.
after executing this line number 8, your JVM will tell you,
Mm.
I am not going to execute your program. You are never going to get this much output. Main 2 is there. No. After this line,
Mm.
whatever things are there, that is never going to print. You will simply get one exception, and that exception is nothing but arithmetic exception. What is the exception name? Arithmetic
Arithmetic exception.
exception. Let's run this program and just try to see the console. Inside this console, you will see main 1, and after that, can we see you are not going to get a main 2 and all. You are getting an exception with the name of
Yeah.
arithmetic
Arithmetic.
exception. Clear?
Yes, sir.
You understand what the meaning of exception and how it's going to disturb our program?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this is the problem with the exception. Now we can ask, sir, why you are dividing by 0? See, here I have given the hard-coded data. What will be if I am writing the j and k? Int I equal to j divided by k. And I am asking the user, enter the j value, enter the k value. Now it's totally depends on my user what value they are going to give to the k. It depends on
Yeah.
the user input, and we can't tell to my user don't give k equal to 0. If you tell him also, even though user like me will give the 0 to test what will be. So
Yes.
exception
Yes.
is always a possibility. It is always not a fix. It's not like that always exception is coming. It is always a
Okay.
possibilities. And whenever possibilities are coming, you must have to handle the program. It's not like that. If there is no possibility, definitely you can't predict that when this. I give you an example here, right? So it depends on our user, whatever the value is giving for divider, according to the divider input, our program will terminate or not. So whenever you have a possibility, we must have to handle the exception.
Exception. Okay.
Now, not only that, Aurelia, whenever we are going to, developing any software, let's talk about the ATM machine itself. So the person who has developed the ATM machine software, they have clearly think on the all possibilities. What are the possibilities there? What will be if user has inserted their card and suddenly power goes off? What will be if user has given the amount for a transaction and suddenly something wrong into the system? So if they did
Yeah.
not consider the all scenario, then what will be? Either bank will be a loser or either customer will be a loser. Yes or no? So
Yes, sir.
all the time, whenever we are developing any software or any program, then we must have to think what are the possibilities are here. is there any possibility of exception, then definitely you have to handle that. And definitely the bank people's or the ATM machine software is handling the resolve scenario, and that is the reason even though this scenario is happening, either not a bank or not the customer is going to lose their amount. Okay? So this is the exception, and how it's harmful I told you, it's not going to execute further. Can you see here, due to the small mistake of your user input, your whole program is going to terminate it. This is not the good way. That is the reason Java people has introduced the concept called handling the exception. To handle the exception, we have a concept of try and catch block. Can you see here? Try and catch block syntax is like this way. Whatever exception you are getting, that exception name you have to write under this catch block. Make sure that try must be followed with the catch. You can't write only try, you will get an error. If there is a try, definitely there should be a catch. And same vice versa also, you can't write simply catch without try. So try and catch are always going to be used together. Now, whatever exceptional statement you are getting, that all should go under the try block. It's not like that you are using the try block and you are writing the exceptional statement outside the try block. Then again your program will terminate. So rule is there, whatever possibility of statements are, whatever statements are there that is exceptional statement, there is a possibility where the exception will come in future. So try to write those all codes into the try block. Okay? So try block is identifying the exception and catch block is handling the exception. So now I did nothing. I simply what I did, I created one try catch, and that a statement which was generating a problem for me, that was generating an exception for me, that statement I have kept under the try block. Now the execution will be started. First output will be main one. Then after JVM will come to execute this line. Suddenly it will search for catch block, whether there is any catch block which is handling the arithmetic exception, and of course we have one catch block which is handling the exception. This catch block will handle the exception, and now you will get main2 also as a output. Can you see here? Your program is not terminated, even though we have an exceptional statement inside my program, but our program is not terminated. That is called exception handling. Clear?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Any doubt so far?
No.
Okay. Now, to see this output, no one can say that inside this program there is an exception. But it's always good practice to inform your user, sir, there is one exception inside your program. So try to fix that. So how we can do that? For that purpose, we need to give some information to the user, some message to the user. I don't want to terminate my program, but at the same time, I want to print my exception statement. So very simple, under the catch block, try to print this EX. EX is nothing but it is a reference of your exception class. Make sure that all exceptions, whatever we are getting, that all are classes. So whenever your exception will come, automatically the object of this arithmetic exception class will be created, and then after we are printing this object. So now if you run this program, you will see here main1, as well as you are getting the name of your exception also. That is saying to you, inside your program there is the exception. But can you see your program is not terminated because we are getting the main2 also as the output. Understood or not?
Okay.
So this is the way. It is a good practice to print your exception also, so that the people can understand there is an exception. This is the first way. Second way is also there. Inside the all exception class, we have one method with the name of getMessage method. So we see the previous output, it is saying to you the only exception name plus why this exception occurred, the reason also it is saying to you. But if you want to get only reason, then you can call simply getMessage method. It will simply give you the reason why your program is having exception. Clear or not?
Okay, sir.
This is the second way, and these all are optional. Whether you want or not, it's not mandatory. Third is, and very popular one, 90% case in the company we are using this only, ex.print_stack_trace. We have one method inside our exception class with the name of print_stack_trace. So this print_stack_trace will give you the complete details of your exception. Can you see here? Java.lang.arithmetic exception divided by 0 at pack1
Okay,
B
okay.
class main method line number 10 you have exception. So if you click on this line number, automatically your cursor will highlight that line wherever your exception is there.
Hmm.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
So this is always good practice to use this print stack trace method, and people used to work on this print stack trace. ठीक है? Just a
Yes,
moment,
sir.
Aurelia.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So do you understand how to handle the exception, how to print the exception?
Yes, sir.
Some more point you have to remember. Come to the C.Java. Can you see here what I'm trying to do? Can you guess the output of this program? What will be the output?
Mm, e- e- First,
Always execution is happening from top to bottom. So what will be? I have given here try. So 90% people are saying try, catch, main two. But
no,
you have to remember.
no. First it is catch. First it is catch,
Hmm?
and then it is try, and then main two.
Okay, so let me tell you one very clear point. You are probably right,
Mm.
but what you are doing, once exception came, then suddenly it will search for the catch block. It will not execute the any
Yeah,
line beside that. So, and
yeah.
once it came out of the try block, then again it is not going back to the try block.
Okay, okay.
So what will be the output now?
The catch and main two.
Exactly. So this is the point you have to remember. If try I will put before this exceptional statement, then definitely I will get the output. But if exceptional
Mm.
statement is there, after that anything are there that is not going to be printed. Clear? And once it is coming
Yes,
out,
sir.
then no chance again it is coming back to the try block. Fine?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Come to the D.Java. What I'm trying to do, what will be if there is a scenario inside my try block, there is one more exceptional statement. Let's say we have like this way also. Is it possible to handle the both exception? We can't do that, right? Because
Huh.
inside this, once exception will come, it will suddenly come out, and in that case, this statement is never going to print it. So whenever you have a possibility of exception more than one, then try to use the try catch inside another try catch. Can you see here? Once again, there is a possibility of this exception. Then again, put one more try catch. That also you can do, and this statement is known as, this concept is known as nested try catch. Understood?
Okay.
We can put
Yes,
one
sir.
try catch into another try catch. This is possible. So whenever you have one try catch into another try catch, that is known as nested try catch. So for this statement, this is the catch block, yes or no? And for this
Yes,
statement,
sir.
this is the catch block. So like this way, you can proceed for your different exception. Not only that, even though in the catch block also you can use the try catch. That is possible. Can you see here?
Mm.
What will be if there is an
Yeah.
exception inside the catch block? So if inside the catch block also there is a possibility of exception, then try to use the try catch into the catch block also. So try catch can be used anywhere, inside your method also, inside your SIV also, inside your constructor also, inside your
Mm.
IIV also. Anywhere you can use
Mm.
try catch. Wherever there is a possibility of exception, don't hesitate to use the try and catch block. Clear?
Okay.
So
Yes,
this
sir.
concept is known as nested try catch. Come to the E.Java. What will be if I write something in the middle of try and catch block? It's never possible, Aurelia, because you know very well, once any exception is coming directly, it is coming to the catch block. Yes or no?
Oh, yeah.
So whatever things you are writing in the middle of try and catch block, that is never going to execute. Yes or no?
Okay.
This types of a statement is known
Yes.
as unreachable statement. What we used to say?
Okay.
Unreachable statement,
Unreachable statement.
and Java is not supporting the unreachable statement. So you should never allow to use any statement between the try and
Statements in between
catch
try
block.
and catch.
Yes.
Catch. Okay.
Can you give me the error here? Why it's reason why it's giving error? Can you see in line number 19? I'm trying to print the, I'm
Hmm.
initializing the I value and it's giving me
Um.
error.
I
If you go to
don't.
this error is saying to you, I cannot resolve to
Hmm.
a variable. So meaning is I is not declared. But I have declared the I
Oh,
now. Why it's saying it's not declared?
yeah. But I is equal to 10. It's already given. So
What? We can't reinitialize, it's not a final variable, so we can reinitialize the
uh,
value.
yeah. 1 second.
Do you remember the local variable? What is the rule of local
Yeah.
variable?
Yeah.
This is declared
You
inside
cannot
the try block, so we can't use this I outside the
change.
try block. Do you remember the local variable as scope?
Yes, sir.
Everything you
Yes, sir.
forgot. Hmm? So compiler is saying to you this is local to try, so you can't use outside the try. If you want to use, then once again you have to declare the
It
int I
is.
here
Yeah.
also. Then only you can use that. Clear? So meaning is very
Yes,
clear.
sir.
Local variable of try catch cannot be used into each other. Fine.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, if I run this program, then what will be? Whether this program will compile, I mean, run successfully or not.
It will. It will run. So,
Hello?
hello.
It will compile, run successfully or not.
It will run successfully.
It will run successfully. What will be the
Yes.
output then?
Main 1
Hmm?
and then try and then catch and then main 2.
Okay, fine. Do you know what types of exception it is throwing?
Arithmetic exception,
And what is the
null,
catch block holding?
null pointer exception.
Hmm.
Okay.
Make sure that whatever exception is coming from your try block, your catch should must hold the same exception. So it is throwing the arithmetic exception and you are trying to handle the null pointer exception. So there is a exception mismatch, and once again there is a exception mismatch. Your program will terminate. You are not going to get the output of catch and main to. What did you
Okay.
understand? So even though we are using the try catch, there is a possibility of termination of program. Now you could ask me one
Hmm.
question, sir, how we can come to know what time which exceptions are coming? Yes or no? If you
Yes,
ask
sir.
me, I will tell you in Java probably we have more than 200 exceptions. And how it's not
Hmm.
possible for everybody to remember the all exception name also. And the panga is
Hmm.
that even though we have used try catch and we were not very sure about the exception, our program is going to terminate. Now what will be if I have a very important message to be printed? I want, doesn't matter my program is terminated or what, but I want to print certain important message that should must be printed. Can you guess what types of message? Let's say you are going to the ATM machine and there is something
Hmm.
problem in the internally in the ATM machine. Then what message you
Hmm.
are at least expecting? That message is thanks for visiting the center. So question is
Yeah.
coming, thank you message at least I want to be printed, because user is not knowing what is exception. They want that at least greeting or at least the thank you message. Doesn't matter their
Okay.
transaction is done or not, but they are looking for thank you message from your side. So what we will do, if I write thank you message in the last, you have seen here our main2 is, let's say main2 is a thank you, then it is never going to
Hmm.
print because our program is terminating before that. But what to do if I want
Yeah.
to print anyhow our thank you message should be printed. Then Java
Hmm.
people has introduced one more black block, that's name is finally block.
Finally.
Not
Okay.
final, it's a finally. ठीक है? So finally
Okay.
block is also can be used along with the try catch. It's not mandatory,
Hmm.
but if you have a certain important message that should must be printed, then try to use this finally block. You can use try also, catch also, and finally also. Now, rule of execution of finally block is only one. Once your try block will execute, definitely your finally block will also execute. So if I run this program, then definitely our try will be executed. Once try will be executed, then what will be? It is coming to the exceptional statement.
Catch.
What is the catch block holding
Yeah.
here? Null pointer exception.
Null
Your
pointer
program will
exception. Yeah.
terminate. Your catch block will not print. But even though your finally block will be printed, check it out. Finally you are getting or not.
Yeah. Yeah, sir.
So that is the reason I told you, you can use finally block whenever you are having the very important code that must be executed even though your program is terminating or not. Let's say your program is not terminating. This time I have given
Mm.
the arithmetic exception. Even though your finally block will execute, check it out. So finally block is saying only one thing. If your try block will execute, then definitely I will also execute. Understood or not?
Yes.
So that is the
Yes,
reason
sir.
even though program is terminating or not, if try is printed, if control has entered into the try block, then definitely your finally block is executing.
Executed. Yeah.
This part is clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, if something wrong with the try block itself, let's say I have given an statement which is having exception before try block itself. So in this
Mm.
case, your program will terminate from line number 7 itself. So
Seven.
your try block
Yeah.
itself is not executing, then doesn't matter. Then your finally block will not execute already. Can you see here? No try,
Yeah.
then no finally. So rule
Finally
for
also.
finally
Okay.
value execution is only one. You must have to execute your try block. Something is wrong before
Yeah.
try block, then your finally block will not execute, and you can't give more than one finally block for a single try. Every try should have at least maximum only one finally block, not more than that. But you can have many number of catch for a single try. You can have
Okay.
n number of catch for a
Many
single
number
try.
of catch for a single
Yes,
try.
this is
Hmm.
possible. I will show you the multiple catches program we have. So this program you understood or not?
This program I understood, sir.
So finally block is default executable block once your try block is executing. But in one of the interviews someone has asked me, can you tell me the way by which I want to execute my try block but not the finally block? Then there is one statement or area, and that statement name is a system dot exit. So if you write system dot hello,
Hmm.
Aurelia is there.
Hmm.
Hello.
Yeah.
Huh. So system.exit is the statement. If you write this one into the try block, then after this line, your nothing is going to execute. You are saying to your JVM, okay, I am saying to you, just come out from my program. After execution of the system.exit method, nothing is going to be printed. Can you see here? Only you are getting the try as a
Yeah.
output.
Yes.
So if someone is asking you how you can stop the execution of finally block even though my try block should execute, then you have to say we need to put system.exit method. By that statement our program is terminating explicitly. So whenever you are going to ATM machine and there is one button no exit, if you are clicking on exit button, then automatically this method is going to be called internally, and that is going to kill your whole application and making it is a ideal once again. Understood or
Okay.
not?
Yes, sir.
So can you tell me the output of this program? What will be the output?
First it will print try and
Mhm.
then catch.
Hmm.
That's it.
Then catch. That's it.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
We are getting all no. See, once again you have to
Yes, sir.
check. This statement is after the exceptional statement. So this is not
Okay.
executed already. Yeah. We have discussed no. If exceptions are coming directly from line number 10 itself, it is came out from the catch block. So this system.exit is not executed. And if it is not executed, then your finally block will execute no. Yes or
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
So in the previous
Yes, sir.
case, I was writing the system.exit before exceptional statement. That is the reason our finally block is not executed. But this time, can you see I have written after the exceptional statement, and we have seen in the previous program, if something is after the exceptional statement, that part is not executing. So system.exit is not executing. That is the reason your program will
terminate.
not terminate. It will be continue. Normal execution will be there. No? ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
Now, how can we give a one try with multiple catch? Just have an example here. Can you see here? I have a inside this try. We have a two possibility of exception. First, 10 divided by j, and I'm asking the user enter the j value, that is enter the divider value. If user is going to give j value as a 0, then what is the possibility of exception? Arithmetic exception. Yes or no?
Yeah. Yeah.
So can we see this catch block will execute? If user is not giving the 0, then what is the exception? Another exception. If you are calling any method by null object, then you will get a null pointer exception. So in the same try, there is a possibility of two exception or not. It depends on my user what value they are going to give for a j. If he's giving the 0, then arithmetic exception. If he's not giving 0, then definitely null pointer exception. Let's run this program and try to give 0 first. What is the exception you are getting?
Arithmetic exception.
Let's run once again, and this time don't give 0. Which exception you are getting now?
Null pointer exception.
Exactly. So this is the multiple catch example. You can give one try with multiple catch. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt so far?
No, sir.
Shall we proceed?
Yeah.
Okay. दिल कहता है Okay. Now, so far what you have seen, wherever exceptions are there, we must have to use the try catch. Yes or no? If we are not using the try catch, then our compiler is not going to give any error. But what is the problem we are facing? Our program is going to terminate. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, can you see in this test method, I have one exceptional statement. Yes or no? So, test method should have to handle this exception by using the try catch. Yes or no?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what test method is saying, I will not handle my exception. He's saying, I'm not going to handle my exception because I know JVM is not going to call me. If I want to execute, then someone have to call me. So what this test method is doing, is writing throws arithmetic exception. He's saying, boss, if you call me, then I'm throwing one exception to you. If you want to call me, then you have to call me under the try and catch block. If you are not using try and catch block and you are calling me, then while calling I will give you exception because I already warning you, I am throwing one arithmetic exception. Getting the point or not? So whenever you are, anybody is going to call this test method, their tragedy is to call under the try block. Because test method is saying, I am not going to use the try catch. If you want to call me, then call me under try block, otherwise my exception will terminate your program because I am already warning you, I am throwing my exception. Getting the point or not? So problem is with me, I am throwing to someone else to try to solve my problem. Yes or no? Because test method is saying, I am a user defined method, JVM is not going to call me. I know very well someone have to call me, and whoever will call me, they have to handle my exception. And can you see here, main method is the last method which is going to call by JVM. So whenever main method is trying to call test method, he have to call under the try, otherwise their program will terminate because test method is not handling the exception. If test method itself is handling the exception, then no need to put this throws exception and no need to put the calling of test method under try block. But if you call this test method outside the try block, then can you see, once I'm calling this test method inside the try block and next time I'm calling outside the try block, your program will terminate not in the line number 16. Your program has terminated in the line number 22. Can you see here? Because you are not calling this method under the try block, since this statement is throwing one checked exception, I mean arithmetic exception. Yes or no? So this is a very important question. Interviewer is asking what do you mean by throws keyword. So you have to say throws is a keyword by which we are throwing our exception to the caller. Whenever we are having exception and I don't want to handle that, then I have to throw that exception to the caller. After that, whoever will call me, their responsibility is to handle my exception. This part is clear?
Yes, sir.
Not only that, just have a look here. Initially, exception was inside the test method, and this test method is called by test1. Yes or no? Now, test1 is also saying, why should I handle? I am also a user defined function. What he is doing? He is also throwing the exception. That is also possible. You can do that. But in the last main method, whenever it will call, they have to call under the try block. So test method exception is came to the test1. Test1 is saying I am also a user defined function. No one can force me to use try catch. I am also throwing my exception. Now main method either call the test1 or test. He have to call under the try block. So you can give the series of throws keyword to many caller. Understood or not?
Yes,
Like this way you have a test 1, test 3, test 4. Now you could ask me one question here, ki sir, why you are throwing the exception at the end, you are handling the exception. Anywhere you have to use try catch, then why not in the first line itself, in the first method itself, we will use try catch. Make sense? Yes or
Yes,
no?
sir.
You can ask me, okay, at the end anyhow we are using try catch, then why this throws keyword unnecessarily? We will put try catch here itself, then the problem is resolved. No one have to use the try catch after that. No one have to use the throws keyword also. Then why don't we handle the exception in the test method itself? Yes. Why did you
Yes,
not
sir.
ask? Why did you not ask?
Because you would answer it anyway.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. My ex-girlfriend is calling. Just a moment.
Okay.
हेलो.
हेलो.
क्या निधि, क्या बात है इतनी?
तुम इतना गंदे हो, तुम्हें नहीं खिलाने का मन था कि तो सीधा बोल देते, है घोड़ी करने की क्या जरूरत है?
एक्सक्यूज मी, मैंने कब तुम्हें अवॉइड किया? उस दिन तुमने कॉल किया था राइट, और उसके बाद मैंने तुम्हें मैसेज भी किया था. Aurelia,
Sir?
I will be back in 5 minutes, okay? Just be online. ठीक है?
Sure.
Don't disconnect.
Sure, sir.
Okay? I will be back.
Okay, sir. Okay. No.
Hello? Aurelia, are you there? Hello? Aurelia, can you hear me? Hey! Aurelia, are you there? Aurelia, are you there? Hey!
सर
यार कहाँ चली गई तुम? मैं कब से हेलो 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 कर रहा हूँ.
नहीं, मैंने ईयरफोन्स नहीं पहने थे तो मुझे सुनाई नहीं दिया.
Anyway, no problem. Shall we continue?
हाँ.
Okay, so I was talking about the throws keyword. With the help of throws keyword, you can throw your exception to the caller. But I have raised a question like why we need to use the throws keyword even though we can handle the exception in the first method itself, right? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
So now,
Yeah.
let me ask you one question. Let's think about I am conducting one examination in one of the room, and the rule is everyone should have a one red color pen. ठीक है? Everyone should have a red color pen. First option is I have to give a pen to each one outside, and then after they have to come along with their red pen and they can put signature and they can go outside. And the second option is I can put one red color pen on my table. Whoever want to use that they can use, and then after they can put it there and then they can go back. So which one is the best way? Giving one pen to each one, giving each pen to everyone, or putting one pen on the table so that people can reuse that. Which one is best option?
Second one.
Exactly. That's the second one. Why hesitation? In one pen itself, I've solved all problems, right? Otherwise, I have to purchase. There's 1,000 students, that for each student, I have to give one pen. So that is not a good idea. Similarly, think here, if you have 100 method inside your class, test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5, and in every method you have exception, then the first approach is you can use try catch in every method, right? In try catch also, in first method, try catch in test 2, try catch in test 3, try catch in test 4. And if you have a throws keyword, then you can use only one try catch into the main method, and you can call the all method in the single try catch. Everyone have to throw the exception, and you can handle in the single try catch for everyone's exception. Yes or no? So this is the best way or not. So we can call test 1 also in the same method try. We can call test 2 also in the same try. We can call test 3 also in the same try. We don't need to maintain the n number of try catch for each method separately. Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So with the help of throws keyword, we can achieve this types of functionality. If throws keywords are not there, then it is very difficult for us to, there will be lots of code, and of course your performance will be not good. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Correct. Shall we proceed now?
Yeah.
So this is the throws keyword. Remember, with the help of throws keyword, we can throw our exception to the caller.
Yeah.
The related word is throw keyword also. We have one throw keyword also. Now, why we require throw keyword? There is a, make sure that there is a throw and throws. Just now we have discussed about throws keyword. Now we are going to see about throw keyword.
Okay, sir.
In all cases, you have seen our JVM is very clever. It is come to know okay, which are the statement throwing exception and which are the exception is exceptional statement basically. We don't need to
Hmm.
put any extra information for my JVM. Hey, JVM, this is arithmetic exception, you terminate my program. This is my null pointer exception, I'm saying to you terminate my program. Our JVM is very smart, but not like a human beings. Sometimes, even though there is an exception, our JVM is not able to identify whether this is exception or not. In that case, can you tell me certain scenario where our JVM is not able to understand whether this is exceptional statement or not? Let's assume you are going to register
Hmm.
on website and there is one option, please enter the age. ठीक है?
Hmm.
And you are
Hmm.
giving the age value as a minus 25. Is it possible anybody is having the minus 25?
No.
That is what our JVM is not able to understand what is the meaning of age, and in that case our program should terminate because again logically it is incorrect. Yes or no? No one can have negative age.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
our JVM is not able to understand whether I have to terminate or not. In that case, it is not terminating. Just run this program. In this program, simply I'm asking the user, please enter your age value. And if user is going to give any age value as a minus 8, even though my program is not terminating. Not only that, if anybody has given 0 as a age, even though my program is not terminating, but I want that my program should terminate here. Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So in that case, you have to inform to your JVM that I am saying to you terminate my program because user has given a negative age. So try to see this output here. What I am going to give. I am first checking the age value. Whether age is less than or equal to 0. If condition is
Hmm.
true, then with the help of throw keyword, you can erase your
Okay.
exception. You can terminate your program. Try to run this
Yes,
program
definitely.
and now try to give minus 9 or something. Can you see your program is terminated or not? You are getting
Yes,
please
sir.
enter the valid age. Yes or no? Not only that,
Yes, sir.
if you give a 0 as a age, try to give 0 even though your program is terminating. But if you give positive number, then your program will not terminate. So with the help of this
Oh.
throw keyword, we can erase our user defined exception. User defined
Okay.
exception in the sense, whenever you need to terminate your program based upon certain condition where your JVM is not able to identify whether this is exception or not, you could help your JVM to terminate the program, and that time we are using the throw keyword.
Hmm.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
So throw is throwing the exception to the caller, and throw is erasing the user defined exception to terminate our program. There is a no-way relationship between the throws and throw, but even though this is very popular question from an interview point of view, what is the difference between throw and throw?
Transparency. Yeah.
So be clever. I hope you understand now the difference. What is the difference between throw and throws?
Yes,
Clear?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good. Now, still one question is pending. Sir, how can we know what types of exception is coming what time? We should be very clever
Hmm.
to while giving the catch exception. So this is the normal course. People used to finish the classes here, but for my student, I used to cover a lot more. Just have a look here.
Hmm.
Just try to see the hierarchy. This will help you to understand the complete exception structure. We have one class with the name of throwable, which is available inside java.lang package.
Language.
We
Okay.
have one
Hmm.
class with the name of throwable, which is available inside java.lang package, and this is having two child class. One is exception and other one is error.
Error. Okay.
Exception is whatever we have seen that all are exception,
Hmm.
but error is not that error whatever you are thinking. That is not a compile time error. It is entirely different. I will tell you this
Okay.
is a runtime error. Before that, try to understand. Inside exception, there is one more class with the name of runtime exception,
Runtime error. Okay. Huh.
not error
Runtime.
exception. So
Yeah.
hierarchy is like that. Runtime exception is extending with the exception, and exception is extending with the throwable. Like
Throwable.
this way.
Yeah.
Now, whatever exception so far we have seen, like arithmetic, class cast, array index out of one, null pointer, number format, etc. These are the very popular exceptions. These all are directly extending with which class? Runtime exception.
Runtime exception. Yeah.
If you see the any arithmetic exception, go to the arithmetic exception. It is extending with the runtime exception or not? Check it out.
Yes, sir.
So whatever exception is directly extending with the runtime exception, those exceptions are known as unchecked exception. There is a two categories of exception, Aurelia: unchecked exception and checked exception. So whichever exception is extends with the arithmetic exception, those exceptions is known as unchecked exception.
Runtime exception. Yeah.
That category's name is a runtime exception. Unchecked exception. Whatever exception so far we have seen, that all was unchecked exception. Whenever you are using this any unchecked exception, then compiler is never going to force you to use try catch. Whether your interest, whether you want to use try catch or not, it's up to you. But whenever we are having any checked exception, what is checked exception? SQL exception, IO exception, class not found exception, file not found exception, interrupted exception. These are the exception which is directly extending with which class? Exception class itself. So these exceptions are known as checked exception. So whenever you are using any of this exception, you must have to use the try and catch block, otherwise compiler will give you error. So difference between checked and unchecked exception is, unchecked exception is extending with the runtime exception, checked exception is extending with directly exception. Yes or no? Unchecked exception, it's not mandatory to use try catch, but for unchecked exception it is mandatory to use the try catch. Just let me show you one unchecked exception. So I'm calling the thread.sleep method. This is the Java wala ka method. If you go to this sleep method, then can you see what exception it is throwing?
Interrupted exception.
And just now I shown you interrupted exception is under which categories?
Checked exception. Yeah.
Yes. So if you not use the try catch here, just remove the try catch and try to you call this method, you will get a error. Compiler will tell you ki boss, it is throwing one checked exception, so you must have to use the try catch. That is the reason error is there. So if you click on this error, then it will tell you surround with try catch, and if you put like that, then Eclipse will automatically write this piece of code under the try block, and whatever exception are there, that is also going to be written here. Now you can see your error is gone. But in the case of arithmetic exception, you have seen whether we are using or not, it's not giving any exception or any error to me. But in the case of checked exception, someone has given the list of exception to the compiler. If anybody is using any of this checked exception, then I am saying to you, don't compile the program. Tell the user to first use the try catch. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So now again, if you are in Eclipse, then you can easily understand this is interrupted exception. Eclipse will help you to find out this exception. But if you are in the another IDE, then if you don't know, then what you will do? Go to the hierarchy once again. Who is the super class for all exception?
Throw exception.
This is the supermost class for all exception. Super class is a exception. So if you don't remember any exception, then directly give the super class name itself, even though it is possible. Even in the arithmetic exception also, if you forgot what is the exception it is throwing, then directly give the exception name and try to run this program. Your program will not terminate Aurelia. So at least you could remember the exception. And how it is able to take the all exception name? Because casting, I told you, auto upcasting, do you remember? Any child class can put their object into the super class. So if you are not giving the interrupted exception, then give directly their super class. and superclass can easily hold the child class object. So all exceptions are child of this exception. Yes or no? Doesn't matter it's a checked or unchecked. All are under the exception. So you can directly give the exception itself. Do you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Sometime main method is also got irritated. He's saying always I have to use the try catch. So what main method is doing? Main method is also throwing the exception sometime. Can you see here? Again I'm using the same statement, and if you're not using the try catch, then compiler will tell you at least use the throws keyword. So what main method is doing? They are saying I'm not going to handle this time. I'm also throwing the exception. Now who is calling our main method?
Exception.
Who is calling our
No.
main method?
Who is calling other? Let's check.
Who is checking our program is logically correct or not? Who is checking?
Compiler.
Then who is checking syntactically our program is correct or not?
Sorry, syntactically it is compiler. Logically, runtime.
I repeated many times JVM, 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 JVM.
Yeah.
How many times I repeated this JVM? Java Virtual Machine or area, come on, this is the basic one. You should not allow to forget.
No.
So our main method is always called by the JVM, Java Virtual Machine. ठीक है? So if main method itself is throwing exception, then JVM responsibility is to use the try catch. Understood or not?
Yes, sir.
So this is all about your exception. Now what is runtime error? Runtime error is coming due to some third resources. Whatever exception you are getting, that is due to some Java statement. You are writing some Java statement which is not proper. But runtime error is coming due to some third resources. What is third resources? Let's assume your program is running and you don't have sufficient memory. Are you getting my point? Your program is running and you are not having sufficient memory. So in that case also your program will terminate, and that is known as error, runtime error. How can we use the runtime error? Check it out here. In this program, I am calling the main method inside the main method itself. Yes, sir?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So whether this will be finished anymore? Main, it will be keep on printing the main. Yes, no? There will be one time you don't have sufficient memory, and in that case your program will terminate. But we don't have any exception here. We have a logically incorrect, but we don't have sufficient memory. That is the reason your program will be terminated. Check it out here. So far your memory was available. It was printing main. But there was a time where your memory was not sufficient. Then your program is terminated, and what you are getting here? A stack overflow error.